Forgive me, Father, for I'm about to simp. I have one thing, and one thing only to say about Momo's grandma. Wood. Wood. That's her grandma. Now, to be fair, I've always had a mature taste in women, but, after a certain age, you gotta be pretty selective, to be honest. You could tell me this woman's 99 years old and wood is still the answer. I don't think I've ever seen a grandma in anime wear booty shorts. I don't think half the anime characters in existence pull off said booty shorts as well as this woman did. It's rare you'll ever see me get down bad on this channel, but I'll be the biggest simp for this grandma. I have full live reactions over on Patreon if you want to see me, I guess drool in real time, because that's really what this episode was, over there exclusively. So, I'm not gonna lie, I thought we were getting, like, a backstory or something for, I don't know, it completely slipped my mind that we're gonna have Granny versus Granny this episode, so I'm like, oh, maybe this is like Turbo Granny before she became a crazy bitch. No, it's Momo's grandma, and she knows what she's doing. People think she's crazy, but as seen by later in the episode, this dude has a secret child, but how could someone who's 20 years old be married with a child? Turns out all that's true, but no one ever believes her. Even Momo herself used to think she was crazy up until recently. So the idea that she comes in with the coolest freaking weapon. Now, I'm used to, like, swords turning into guns or, you know, having multiple forms. She comes in with, like, a JJK level, I thought it was a hammer and nails, because she hits something, it turns out it was a baseball bat, hits a nail and impales poor Ken, who's having the worst week of his life, let's be honest here. The idea that it turns into a pencil, which sounds stupid on paper, but if you're gonna do some shaman level BS, and you're gonna draw wards, summoning circles, whatever, having a weapon where you can beat them senseless and then draw shit around them is actually the perfect weapon. We had like 4 minutes of this woman just beating the living shit out of our MC. And you had me saying, God, I wish I were him right now. I don't think anyone was ready for how attractive this grandma. Now, if anyone's gonna tell me I shouldn't simp as hard as I am, I don't care. We are in a time period where half the goddamn anime characters are trying to argue they're 500 years old and they look 8 years old. And we have, finally, in one of the most mainstream level shows popping off, even better than a MILF at this point. Let Brandon have this. So, she beats us senseless. Of course, wasn't gonna kill us, even though, like, I think initially she was planning on it. And Momo and her, like, I think it's good to have a mentor character in a show like this, because ultimately, throwing 2 kids, fish out of water, into alien ghost nonsense with psychic powers and dicks getting stolen, you probably need some mentorship, and currently the only mentorship we have wants to kill everyone in existence, because, the old Ken doll over here ain't really providing much in terms of mentorship. So having someone who actually can kick ass and take names, I mean, absolutely brilliant. They had me a little shook at first. I was ready to drop this show. If they committed to giving her a heart attack or stroke there, I was not going to be okay. I would have said justice for grandma. But at the end of the day, the idea of someone who very much, we got that impression, at least I know I did, when she was basically saying, hey, you know, what type of spirit or blah, blah, blah. She's like, you know, it's all BS. I'm a fake. I'm a blah, blah, blah. And, you know, very clearly Momo her whole life has considered her grandma a fraud. Like, just, yeah, you know, great, you make a living, but it's all nonsense. There isn't ghosts and whatnot. I mean, we knew that was kind of her opinion in episode 1, but it's interesting to have a character who directly, like, believed in that and made that her career, and pretty much was probably always slightly, like, probably not mad, but just annoyed that her granddaughter never could see the truth. So to see that apology scene, great character writing moment before ultimately having, you know, the reunion. And this is what I love about the dynamic between these two, and I think what really sells Dandadan so much is that they simultaneously have, like, what you expect. Like, there's that emotional reunion, like, oh my god, he's alive, this is wonderful. And then she immediately starts freaking out, because she's like, I can't tell if I should be pissed off, if I should be happy, if I'm a bit of both. Because at the end of the day, right, you know, she's, like, worrying that he's already dead, and he's in this building eating rice like it was nothing. And then there's the scene I can't believe I'm saying this about this show. Like, as wild as this show's been, I didn't think I would have this. The big moment at the end of this week's episode was he needed to go to the bathroom. He needed to take a shit. At first, I was like, okay, you know, I guess that makes sense because, you know, like, even though he's lost his front parts, I'm sure his ass is still functioning. But they talk like he can still do that, and that raises many questions because I was just under the assumption he was really a Ken doll. It was just flat down there now. So does it all come out the other hole? Like, how does, like, I understand this may be a little too many questions for that whole dynamic, but if you're gonna put the emphasis on him needing to go to the bathroom and being super, like, embarrassed by it, I have the questions. It has been raised. And the idea that, here's the thing, they've almost been killed and violated multiple times in the span of, like, 24 hours. Having to be watched take a shit is not the end of the world, but it kind of feels worse than kicking a man when he's already down. Like, there's an understandable reason why he was so embarrassed. And the idea that, like, I'm hoping for his sake it was quiet and there was no smell, because the kid ain't gonna recover from that embarrassment. But I do appreciate their dynamic in terms of how both on Ken and Momo's side, they both have this way of, like, being sweet and kind of like what that normal kind of dynamic would be, where you're like, okay, this is an emotional moment. And then both of them will freak out. She freaks out more in an aggressive way. He freaks out more in a just outlandish, like, are you kidding me right now vibe. And they're just so ridiculous, and I absolutely love the dynamic between their two. But this was an appropriate episode to introduce essentially a mentor figure. Here's the thing. Even if they would have made her just like a shriveled up old woman, like I think most of us probably assumed she was going to be, I would still say it's good to have a character like that. And honestly, if it was truly looking like an old woman beating us senseless with a baseball bat, I would still think that's pretty metal. The only difference is they truly made like the hottest anime character in the most unexpected ways. That's having me say would harder than I think I have in years for any anime character, because goddamn what a visual treat. Like, and the craziest thing about her design is you could tell how, like, seductive they were going to make her, but you couldn't really tell what they would pull off just based on how they were kind of covering her up. And then she casually comes out in booty shorts, and I'm like, this is the greatest anime season known to man. There's so many bangers, and they're somehow making me drool over a goddamn character harder than I thought possible. Say what you will, but wood is the only response. If you say otherwise, damn dirty liar. Thoughts down below on this episode. I would honestly say this show has gotten progressively more enjoyable the more I understand the dynamic between the central two. And when you introduce the proper grandma of the show, wood's the only answer. So thoughts down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell. And like I mentioned, we have full live reactions over on Patreon. And hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. So today we got Min Young, June 96, Miguel Frances, Dark Lord Dashi, and we also have Kim Andre Olsen. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. Y'all have a good one.